ESPN. The 2024 Alabama Spring Football Game, the dawn of a new era in Tuscaloosa. Kalen DeBoer, the new head coach, reigning National Coach of the Year after leading Washington to the national title game, and he's standing by with Molly McGrath.
I'm here with Coach on the field as they're about to kick off. Coach, it feels like a regular season game, nearly a full lower bowl down here. How have you embraced the expectations, the tradition here at Alabama?
Yeah, it's been awesome. It's been an awesome spring, and today's been super special. A lot of events, a lot of alumni coming back, of course, today with the 8A game. So the guys are fired up. They're excited to showcase what they've been working on. Really looking forward to seeing us take the next step, and that was a challenge that I just took to them in the locker room.
What questions do you need answered about this team today?
Yeah, I just want to see everyone continue to improve, take that next step. Obviously, there's some positions that have some competition going on, and want to see just them embrace this moment, see how they are when there's a crowd in front of them. Not just a normal practice when no one's watching.
All right, thank you, Coach. Appreciate you.
Awesome. Roll Tide.
First of many times you'll hear Kalen DeBoer say that. Foremost, and that's his offense, which was electric with Michael Penix at quarterback the last couple of years. Greg, how different will the offense under Kalen DeBoer look compared to what it was under not just the coordinators, but the head coach, Nick Saban, for the last decade and a half?
Well, philosophically, they're very similar. Actually, there was a moment in the offseason leading into 2023 where Brian Grubb, the offensive coordinator for Kalen DeBoer at Washington, was the lead candidate for Nick Saban to become his offensive coordinator last year. So philosophically, they're very similar. However, the terminology's been different. So it's been difficult, I think, for some of the players to learn that terminology because it's been the same for 17 years. And now it's like learning a different language when trying to run and think and do all those things really fast. It can be very difficult.
DeBoer does have a returning quarterback in Jalen Milroe, who finished 5th in the Heisman Trophy voting. After a slow start to 2023, Milroe finished with an outstanding campaign. Here's Jam Miller, great run on the first play. Big hit on the sideline by Malachi Moore, who's changing positions on that back end this year for Bama.
Malachi Moore, we'll get to him a lot. He's so important in this new look defense for Kane Womack, but offensively, similar play that you saw forever. However, just out of split backs, Jam Miller, they're very excited about his progress. They feel like running back's a position of strength, and in large part due to the depth and versatility that group has.
Chase McClellan, Roydell Williams were running backs in the fall. So a new group back there. Milroe in trouble, and this is what he does so well. We saw this a ton last year. He rushed for 12 touchdowns. And obviously improved as a passer, but very dangerous when he gets outside the pocket.
The Kalen DeBoer-led program, that probably would have been whistled a sack with Nick Saban being a defensive guy. However, with Kalen, hey, let him play a little bit. Jalen takes off, and we're really proud of how he's really taken on a leadership role in the offense and growing into this system.
Now it's second down and short. I'm going to run it again. And it's a first down for Miller. Greg, obviously you're close to the program. You watched and covered a lot of Bama games last year. In your mind, when did things flip for Jalen Milroe? Because he was benched after the loss to Texas, didn't play week 3 against South Florida. They struggled in that game but still won. Struggled for a couple games after that, but then the ascension was on.
And there was really more inconsistency. It was putting 60 minutes together, and that really was a bit of a challenge there for the first 8 games or so. But after the bye week, man, he became so decisive and played as well as anybody at quarterback in the country down the stretch.
Milroe throwing a deep ball here. And a contested catch made by Jeremy Bernard, transfer from Washington, who was down the depth chart there just because all the first-round picks that Kalen DeBoer had in Seattle at that position. Could be the #1 guy here in Tuscaloosa in the fall.
And a great catch there by Jeremy Bernard. Down the seam, knew he was going to get hit, went up high, made a great catch.
Justice Haynes gets the call here into the end zone for the touchdown. Justice Haynes only had 25 carries a year ago, but he and Jam Miller will split duties at tailback for Bama in the fall.
Just an excellent start for the Alabama offense. I mean, right down the field, you get Jalen Milroe going, big play in the passing game, a couple of nice runs, and the offensive line, a group that we'll be paying very close attention to, particularly on the edges of that offensive line. really moving people off the ball those first few plays.
Alabama has to replace Will Reichard, the all-time leading scorer in the history of the NCAA. Connor Talty, Upton Belafont, and this young man here, Reed Schuback, are in competition for the place-kicking job. And Schuback puts it through, make it 7-0. Mentioned early on last year, struggled a bit. Still had some great moments against Texas. 10 total touchdowns in the first 5 games. But then the next 9 looked like a different guy. Won the SEC championship, was the title game MVP when they beat Georgia, and then took Michigan to overtime. Now Ty Simpson is in at running back. He's the number 2. And some pressure in his face, and he throws it away. Red Morgan, the guy that they really like on the back end, youngster. Got the pressure that time on Simpson, redshirt sophomore quarterback who played a handful of games last year, threw just 20 passes. Was a big-time recruit a couple years ago out of Tennessee.
Yeah, they're really excited about his progress. They feel like he's a much more competent player, has great feel for what they're trying to do offensively, and is very accurate when releasing the ball, especially outside the numbers.
They got Richard Young at running back. Able to push the pile out to about the 29. Downhill physical runner for Alabama. Young is their 3rd running back on the depth chart. Had 9 carries a year ago.
Just another young guy and Young that is going to have to figure out exactly what his role will be, but coaching staff's excited about him being that 3rd option, and especially in short yardage and downhill runs.
3rd down and 6. Simpson with time, and it's pulled in for a first down out near midfield. Cole Adams on the grab, and that'll move the sticks out to the 49.
We talked to offensive coordinator Nick Sheridan. He's really excited about how Cole Adams is going to be factored in, much like so many of the great players that they've had in the slot in the past. Really versatile, excellent in being able to create separation, and that time he does on an over route for a nice gain.
Here's Young able to break a tackle in the hole, and able to slip an ankle tackle attempt at the 45. Gets 9 down to the 42-yard line. Obviously the 2nd team offense out there, but they're still trying to figure out which 5 are going to be on that offensive line to start.
Yeah, but just a really powerful run here by Rich Young. As you said, you see how powerful he is running into Red Morgan there, the front to the starting role at the Husky position. Runs right over him and introduces himself.
Simpson going to hand it off again. And good job in the backfield against true freshman Daniel Hill. Damian Brown, another young talented player on the back end, a freshman from Santa Ana, California. Coaches said he's been as exciting as anybody on defense for Alabama here in the spring.
And that's an area that Kalen DeBoer is trying to figure out. And defense coordinator Kane Womack has obviously had great pass rushers over the years. Who's going to be the next 2 up? And I feel like they have a lot of depth at that position.
First down on the 40. Play fake. Simpson with pressure. Steps up. Gets out of there. Launches it downfield. And it was intercepted, but inbounds or not. Waiting for the call. Nope, incomplete. Ray Hubbard was there on defense to pick it off, but could not get a foot down. Simpson showing some athletic ability there.
Really nice escapability, and I think that's what the coaches were most surprised by. They knew he was a natural thrower, but watching him move in the pocket, watching him keep his eyes down feature in the spring or in fall.
Here's Hill again, this time with the carry. Push back at the line to gain. We'll see where they spot it. I think it's going to be 3rd down. DeBoer, 49 years old. He's a native of South Dakota. He played at Sioux Falls, was a 4-year player there, then a head coach at Sioux Falls before bouncing around to different jobs as an offensive coordinator, whether at Eastern Michigan or Indiana. Then he got the head job at Fresno State. After 2 years there, took the Washington job as Young gets the first down, moving the chains inside the 15.
He's really the perfect coach for the modern day because he's one of those guys from a personality standpoint. He's strict to an extent, naturally, maybe not to the level of Nick Saban, but he meets the players where they're at. He helps guys kind of make sure they're all on the same page, makes guys feel great about themselves. And I think his ability to reach the players has led to their teams overachieving both at Fresno and Washington en route to almost winning a national championship last year.
Simpson going to hand it off here in a jet sweep inside the 10 to Adams and pushed out of bounds around the 7-yard line. A lot of people, Greg, ask the question as you watch the replay here about Kalen DeBoer's adjustment to the SEC. Given the resume we just showed you, there was no SEC school on there, nothing in the Southeast, and now he's taking over a program that's had more success than anybody, not just in the Southeast, but in the country the last 17 years.
Yeah, I think ball is ball, whether it's played on the moon or played here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Ball is ball, and he knows how to get the most out of his guys.
There's a pitch to Young, and Young able to power through an arm tackle into the end zone for a touchdown. Nice run. Freshman Richard Young attacking the defense that time. Not afraid of contact downhill.
I tell you what, I mean, Richard Young, it's obvious who the 1 and 2s are at running back with what we've already seen from Jam Miller, Justice Haynes, but Richard Young's going to carve out a nice role for himself in this offense if he continues to run with great power and leverage when that attacking defender arrives.
Upton Belenfant will get a place kicker here for this extra point. Well, on that drive, Simpson was 3 of 6 passing for 37 yards. Richard Young had 23 yards on the ground and a touchdown. So the offense up 14-0. And when we come back, you're going to hear from Nick Saban. He will join Molly McGrath from Tuscaloosa.
It's good to be back and be a part of it.
Are you going to be able to watch and enjoy as a fan? Are you going to be writing down some coaches' notes while you're up in the box watching? What are you going to be doing?
My biggest concern is being with my head coach, Miss Terry. I've never, ever had to watch a game with her. So I'm a little concerned.
Last question, Coach. Why is this team in the right hands with Kalen DeBoer for the future?
Yeah, well, Kalen's a great coach, and I know there's been some disruptions based on, me leaving, him coming, but he's going to do a great job. The players are in good hands, and I think they'll do a great job of recruiting, and probably need to get some guys out of the portal like everybody else at this time of year, but I'm excited for the future.
All right. Thank you, Coach. Enjoy the game with Miss Terry.
Thank you.
Okay, first, one time was your coach. Now he's a colleague. College game day.
Right.
How do you think he's going to handle this new chapter of his life?
I'm excited for him. I mean, it's hard to quit football cold turkey. So to know that he's going to have that outlet and still be very involved in the game is tremendous, and we're better at ESPN to have him as a teammate, that's for sure.
Milroe off play action, lobbing it, and maybe a little push off. Inside the 20 is Bernard, and Bernard inside the 5, and finally dragged down at the 2-yard line by Damani Jackson as they're going ones versus ones. First team offense getting the better of the first team defense so far. That was a 51-yard gain.
And that was a great play. Good throw by Jalen Milroe. Rolled to his left, eyes back to the right. Noticed he had a step with Bernard. Loaded it right over the top. And Bernard, so good after the catch. Actually, last year at Washington, actually handed it off to him from time to time. Very versatile player that's playing exclusively wide receiver now. And the run after catch doesn't leave you. Just an excellent football player that's going to have a huge role here at Tuscaloosa.
So first and goal from the 2. Milroe 2-2 passing so far. Going to hand it off here. Justice Haynes. That at the 1 and Spill. Marius Latham was there for Alabama along with L.T. Overton. Keon Sabb, who is a transfer from Michigan. Very gifted safety. in there also.
Big Robbie Oots coming in now. 270-pound tight end, lined up in an H-back spot. It's a handful in the run game, so I'd anticipate a run right behind him.
Look at you calling plays in the spring game. You have a future in this business. Touchdown for Cam Miller. And a touchdown catch in the SEC title game. Punches it in here.
Just a little bit of a split zone right here as Robbie Oots crosses from that H-back position, tries to get a piece. Someone off the interior, but the right side of the offensive line just mowing over the interior of that defensive line. While you're excited to see your offense score, everybody is, you also have to acknowledge that the interior of that defensive line has struggled so far with the experience of Tyler Booker and that offensive line up front.
Connor Talty for the extra point. Week 3 UFL games continue today. It's 7 on Fox. It's the Showboats and the Stallions. Tomorrow the Panthers and Roughnecks kick off at noon Eastern on ABC. Then it's the Brahmas and the Battlehawks at 3. ABC games can also be seen on ESPN+. Greg, you mentioned that defensive line. And obviously the defense, like the offense, has a lot of turnover because of a coaching change. You have some guys in the portal, but the biggest reason why people leave Alabama is for the NFL. You're losing some key guys on the back end, but also up front.
There were, a handful of guys, but they're really pleased with the returnees that they have, most notably at the linebacker spot. They are thrilled with what they've seen from Deontay Lawson and Jahad Campbell, but they are still trying to find a little more consistency on the interior of the defensive line, and that will help with the return of Jaheim Otis, who's not available today.
Dylan Lonergan in at quarterback, completes it out to the 30. C.J. Dupree, tight end, gain of 5. Let's go ahead and check in with Molly down the field.
Well, Dave, you guys have talked about the coaching change and culture change here. Well, offensive lineman Tyler Booker summed it up perfectly. He said, Coach Saban expected greatness out of you, whereas Coach DeBoer appreciates the greatness in you. And you can tell that players truly love Coach DeBoer. Those who stayed feel closer than ever because they chose to stay, chose to see this program through major changes. And Booker stressed that despite those changes, the expectations remain the same. The standard is the same. They're expecting nothing but a national championship here at Alabama, and these players are determined to prove that this new era will be just as promising as the last, guys.
This new era certainly is more laid back. That's not necessarily a bad criticism of the previous, obviously, when you win that many championships, but it is a really different vibe just being in the offices yesterday.
Very much so, and very different. Everyone still does the same role, but as far as walking on eggshells, there's a lot less of that for sure. The guys are empowered and trusted, and the guys have played very freely as a result. So a very different approach from Kalen DeBoer and Nick Saban. It's perfectly fine. One thing I was amazed by, though, is how much Kalen DeBoer has been willing to adopt some of the things that Coach Saban used with great success. And so many coaches come in and say, no, we're going to do things my way, and I don't care about what was here, who cares, whatever. This is how I do it, you're going to do it how I want to do it. And he just hasn't done that. He's adopted the things that he believes in while implementing some of his own. And it's been a really nice marriage so far.
Lonergan off play action, just throwing it away with pressure in his face that time from Brett Morgan. It's a good point, Greg, because you've seen it, whether it's in college football or any sport. You have a guy that replaces a legend, wants to do things his own way, and basically shuts out anybody that had a connection to the previous regime. Well, Kalen DeBoer has embraced Nick Saban's willingness to still be part of the program. At first, we're talking 3 times a day, and Kalen would just bounce things off Coach Saban, and all the coaches, not just Kalen, told us yesterday in our meetings that Nick Saban continues to be receptive to any way he can help better the next stage of this program.
And I think that's so valuable too. You have the greatest that has ever done it, ever, at the college level, and you have him 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, except for the 4 hours a day he's on the golf course. So 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, to be able to reach out, because he said and made it very, very important. And it actually rings home to me as an alumnus. This is sure, yeah, it's my program. Yeah, it's mine, I guess, but it's really our program collectively. Coach Saban, you, Greg, everyone that's been here that's helped build this thing. This is everyone's program. I want everyone to have a part of it. So I think that's really, really important and valuable. And I think refreshing, frankly, because I don't think there's a lot of coaches that would drop their ego at the door, say, yeah, the way Coach Saban did is really good too, so I'm going to do a lot of the things he did to maintain the success that this place has had for so many years.
We're well aware that you played here, by the way.
Well, there might be some people out.
No, I just...
It's unfortunate.
Based on the reception you got when you walked into the stadium, but...
Well, it's funny now because I see kids that are like 15, and they're like, when did you play? I'm like, well, before you were born, buddy. It was a long time ago, that's for sure.
They just thought you were Mac Jones. Third down and 8. Dylan Lonergan, redshirt freshman, played just one game last year. Threw 2 passes. See the arm talent there. That was a bullet to Cole Adams. Wrapped up though just short of the first down, so 4th and a yard.
It's like, again, another little nod to the offense. One guy down here says 1st and 10. The guy up top said 4th and 1. But being offensive head coach, I'm thinking 1st and 10. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, that's what it is. The chain gang moved. As soon as Kalen said, let's go, fresh set of downs, Daniel Hill on the carry and doesn't get much, maybe a yard.
Coach Saban, it's 4th and 4. Yeah.
With the lowest analytic percentage of going for it on 4th and 4 in the country.
It really is. It's amazing just how different it is, but the expectations, like you said, remain the same, and it's pretty amazing. Seeing a lot of formation, seeing a lot of different coverages defensively. I mean, this is a little more than you usually see in a spring game. They said they weren't going to show anything, but this is the base stuff. They got a lot of stuff.
Catches made out in space by Robbie Oots. Had 3 catches last year. Gain of 6 will bring up 3rd and 4 or 3rd and 3, depending on the spot here. Now that we haven't called his name yet, but we will, I think, in the follow-on, is Caleb Odom, who is a versatile guy. They're trying to figure out whether he's a tight end or a receiver. They, as we mentioned earlier, really 4 tight ends. J.D. Gardner, it's the carry here for a first down. Good movement up front. And we got a timeout. Back with more. Nick Saban's arrival earlier today was in Augusta yesterday, in Tuscaloosa for spring football today. "15 years ago, a young Greg McElroy won Nick Saban's first national championship as the starting quarterback. An academic All-America as well, 24-3 record as a starter. And boy, when we walked in today to Bryant-Denny Stadium, ladies and gentlemen, the red carpet was rolled out for Tuscaloosa's biggest celebrity. 26 minutes on the field, signing autographs, taking pictures, kissing babies.
You guys are ridiculous. I saw cameras. I didn't think you guys were actually taping. I thought they were just getting in position. So it was fun to interact with everybody, man. What I love so much.
If you watch here, though, Greg, just if I can interrupt for a second, what you were best at when you were the quarterback here was
handing off.
Here, Trent.
Yes.
Here, Ingram.
Yes.
Handing it off. And let's watch. Look at that handoff there. And not only did you hand it off, but then you directed traffic on where to run, which hole to run through.
I don't know so much about the latter. Did plenty of handing off, though, I can assure you. It's always great to see everybody.
Lonergan wearing your number here in Alabama. Emmanuel Henderson has a chance to do some damage in the fall. They really like him. Really progressing. Junior from Hartford, Alabama. Gives them a 1st and goal. They'll spot it on the 6-yard line. And no running room up the middle. Daniel Hill almost ran over his quarterback as he got pushed back. Much better job there up front by the D-line. Jeremiah Beeman. Birmingham, a true freshman, was there.
I think they're going to need some freshmen to really step up to kind of be reinforcements there on the interior of the defensive line. They have good players from a starting standpoint. It's just with the portal now, it's just hard to retain as many guys. You often get young quick. when you go down the depth chart a bit. So the freshman stepping up is big.
That pass overshot Lewis. A little high, so big 3rd down. And coverage that time by Caden Jones, a linebacker out there in space. Think of the players that, if you look at Lonergan's number, they lost on defense. Chris Braswell, Dallas Turner is likely going to be a top 10 pick. Terry and Arnold would also be a top 10 pick, certainly a top 20. Kool-Aid McKinstry as well, likely a 1st-round pick. Caleb Downs transferred to Ohio State. Lonergan's pass broken up, nearly picked off toward the goal.
That was a good job there by Woodyard. Ball thrown just a little bit behind the intended receiver. Lonergan tried to time it out, just left it a little bit on the back hip and allowed the defender to get an arm in there. But nice stop defensively after what was a promising drive.
So Schuback will come on for the field goal. You actually can earn points as a defense. The scoring for the offense is the same as it is in a regular game. So a chance at 3 points here. And the kick is good from 27 yards away for Reed Schuback. Back in a moment, 24-0. White leading the Crimson. Things have looked a certain way under Nick Saban for a long time. Greg, as you look at Womack's resume, what do you think will be the standout of this defense that's different from the previous regime?
Well, in structure, they'll be very similar. I mean, 4-2-5 is kind of the terminology that you hear. 4 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, 5 defensive backs, with the Husky position, which used to be called the star in Nick Saban's defense, being that hybrid corner, safety, hybrid guy that can cover in the slot. So structure very similar, but the responsibilities are very, very different.
Simpson, nice job to step up and throws a strike. Nice tackle, but Prentice able to pull it in at midfield before he got dumped by Sapp.
One of the aspects of this defense that will be very different is Nick Saban implemented a style of defense that's called pattern matching, which is essentially man coverage. Now, it's a lot more complicated than that, but pattern match coverage. Now they're adjusting to more of a vision defense, which is a little bit more zone coverage, where the eyes of the defender are on the quarterback, not on the guy they're covering.
Huge hole here for Jan Miller inside the 20 and close to the goal line, but down at the 2. Probably not the best timing to talk about the defense after the huge run, 48 yards.
And just a great run here by Jan Miller, but excellent up front too. Left guard Tyler Booker, All-American candidate, one of the best offensive linemen in the sport, opening up a big hole and no linebacker there to account for Miller going north and south inside that left guard.
4 carries, 75 rushing yards for Jan Miller, and a touchdown, 1st and goal. And Simpson out there with the first group right now. Milroe on the sideline. Snap was a little off. Alabama fans don't want to see that anymore. Oh, what a nice move by Ty Simpson that time, spinning away and getting into the end zone.
I love Ty too, turning around, putting his hands up like, what do you mean I made a miss? Well, you also have a black jersey on, which makes you extra slippery for sure. Pretty good spin move there. I do expect Xavier Brown to probably finish that one though, if I'm going to be completely honest.
In a game, Simpson's getting lit up.
Yeah, not sure that's going to end well for the offense on that play.
So they blow it dead, and 2nd and goal. Miller again. See Sapp just trying to grab onto his jersey to slow him down, and that's not going to work. It's another touchdown for Jan Miller. 2nd already. Got so many great running backs here over the years under Nick Saban. Chase McClellan, Roydell Williams were the 2 guys last year. Miller and Justice Haynes, the guys going forward.
And one thing that all Alabama fans are paying close attention to is the left tackle, Elijah Pritchett, right there. That time, great block, securing the edge of the line of scrimmage. Long arm, battling for that left tackle spot throughout the course of summer. And then ultimately into fall camp. But tackle's a big question mark for this team. But so far, the return's been good for the starters here throughout the spring game.
Alabama wide receiver Jalen Hale would have been out there with the ones for A-Day, but he suffered a left leg injury earlier this spring. Coach Kalen DeBoer called it significant. You can see he's wearing a full leg cast and brace to stabilize that leg, and DeBoer told me he'll probably miss the majority, if not all, of the regular season, but he could be available near the end of the year. It's too soon to tell, but right now, it's not looking good, guys.
That's too bad. It's a big loss. Basically, for the most part, a new group is that pass by Austin Mack, the Washington transfer, off the mark, trying to hit Sam Willoughby. They do have some guys coming in the fall that can help at the wide receiver spot.
Yeah, they're very excited about the freshman Ryan Williams, who will arrive on campus here in a couple weeks. The wide receiver is a position they actually feel pretty good about. It was a question mark for me coming in to the spring, but they actually feel like they're ahead of schedule at that spot, which is tremendous news for Alabama fans.
Max pass again, a little off target. Ty Lockwood was who he was throwing it to. Take a look at some of the recruits, the top recruits for this 2024. You mentioned Williams. He's going to be here in the summer. Justin Mbakwe is here and actually playing today, the number 2 overall pick. They needed some reinforcements on the defensive end in the backfield. Isaiah Bond transfer. Yeah, that's going to be a sack. Mack was hit. Ja'Shawn Ross back there. Defense looking a little better here with the threes.
A little better there for sure. A couple of off-target throws there from Austin Mack, transfer that Kalen DeBoer said 17 years old, still very, very young, has a year of college football under his belt, has a high ceiling, and a guy that's a real natural thrower.
It's amazing when you say that, 17 years old with a year under his belt because he reclassified. State of California, going to run Claiborne here.
Especially when you take into account that there are some guys playing football the last couple of years that are 25 years old, like Stetson Bennett, Hendon Hooker, and a few others.
Well, this year's NFL Draft in Detroit is right around the corner. April 25th, 26th, and 27th. We'll have every pick on ESPN along with our usual expert analysis. Also available on the NFL Network. And as always, ABC's coverage focuses on the prospects' journey to the draft. And as usual, a number of Crimson Tide players will be drafted in the first round. And you think it'll be Dallas Turner's name that's called first, potentially in the top 10. You know, Will Anderson 2 years ago was a 3rd pick. Dallas Turner, and then is there a guy maybe on this roster that we could see down the road being the next edge great. Latest projections have J.C. Latham going 11th. And I assume a J.J. McCarthy swap based on what ESPN.com and Mel Kiper think.
I think what I think most Alabama fans are so amazed at Terrion Arnold and his growth. I mean, Dallas Turner was expected to be a first-rounder. J.C. Latham expected to be a first-rounder. Kool-Aid McKinstry, all those guys, if you look at the way too early mock drafts from last spring, they were all in the first round. But to see Terrion Arnold last year really take ownership of that corner spot, take his game to the next level, it's been really rewarding to watch his development.
Back in trouble, and that's going to be another sack. Obviously, replacing those guys in the secondary is going to be tough, but how about an edge rusher? Just mentioned the 2 guys that have gone, assuming Turner goes in the top 10 with Anderson last year, Turner this year. Is there a guy that they have that you think really could be that edge guy that they're so used to having here in Tuscaloosa?
Yeah, there's really 3 guys that I think have a chance to have really an excellent year. Quay Russaw is a guy that they are so excited about. Really twitchy, crazy athletic. It's going to be a massive difference maker. And then Keanu Cott, who's got great length and a lot of twitch as well. I mean, they have great speed off the edge to go along with Robinson, who's likely going to be the starter. But situationally, those guys, man, with their ability to affect the quarterback, they're a lot deeper at that position than I think most people realize.
Michael Areno with a catch, but stopped well short of the line to gain. So 4th down and about 15. So we'll switch it up here. We're not going to punt at all. So new group on both sides of the ball when we come back. So the defense gets some points, gets a stop there. 6 points for the defense.
A surprise when going into your early season opponents. Nobody really knows what you're going to do defensively. Might be some combination of what you saw with Nick Saban, Kane Womack, and Mo Linguist, who came down from Buffalo, was the head coach there, co-defense coordinator here. So you don't want to show too much, but this is a very fun system to watch defensively. I think Kane Womack traditionally has done an amazing job with disguise and does a really good job playing with the opposing quarterback's eyes, and very thoughtful defense, and has given a lot of teams problems over the years.
The starters are back out there on offense and on defense. Jam Miller gets the carry here. You know, one of the interesting headlines defensively has been what they're going to do with Malachi Moore, as they try to, as we showed you earlier, replace 2 guys who are going to get drafted very high in Kool-Aid McKinstry, Terrion Arnold, but also Caleb Downs, who did a lot in a lot of ways. But he's now at Ohio State.
Yeah, and Malachi Moore is massive. For him to be back, switching to safety from the star position, now he's going to be kind of there in the back end, reading quarterback's eyes, and this is a defense that really empowers the safety spot as well, too. So it should be a great move for him and his future prospects.
Off the mark, Kendrick Law, intended target Keon Sabb was down there.
The addition of Keon Sabb is enormous, too, and Sabb coming down from Michigan, and if you watch Michigan last year defensively, Sabb got a little more and a little more and a little more as the season went along. So the bigger the game, the more you saw Keon Sabb out there for the Wolverines defense, and they felt like he was a home run addition in the portal to get him to come down and to play that free safety spot. He's got great eyes, great instincts, and can really close in the football.
Oh yeah.
3rd down and 9 for Milroe. Pressure backside, and flags are down. This will be holding. Milroe throws it away. Maybe the biggest difference defensively, when you go to an Alabama practice or watch an Alabama walkthrough, the head coach, Nick Saban, would be over with the defensive backs, often giving pointers, often giving them emphatically to his players. You're not going to see that now. Kalen DeBoer is obviously going to be more on the offensive side, not directly with a position group, and if it's a position group, it's not going to be DBs.
And that's why I think the defensive coordinator hire was so significant. To go and get a guy in Kane Womack that has great familiarity with this part of the country. Of course, the head coach at South Alabama, but his dad, Dave Womack, having coached at Ole Miss, been in the league for a really long time. He's just really familiar with the footprint in the league, so that's really helpful. And then to go add Mo Linguist in addition to Kane Womack is ridiculous. I mean, it's just the rich get richer, and they have been so pleased with what Mo Linguist has brought, especially to the corner position with great turnover, knowing that Terrion Arnold and Kool-Aid McKinstry are both going to go in the 1st round. A lot of young guys that will be stepping up, so that's a huge position coach responsibility to get those young guys up to speed. And Mo Linguist has done a great job with some guys that have some real raw ability.
Manuel Henderson on the catch, gain of 8. Well, Alabama fans and the rest of the college football world will get to see the Crimson Tide open the regular season on August 31st right here against Western Kentucky. New SEC, but obviously Texas and Oklahoma joining, so you got 8 conference games still, and then 1 required major conference team or an independent. So that's Wisconsin, and they got USF after Western Kentucky, but then you have your big out-of-conference game in Madison, and then Georgia to start conference play week 4, and then you got the Iron Bowl also at LSU, at Tennessee, at Norman. Pretty interesting when you look that up. You still got to kind of look twice, right? Do a double take when you see Alabama, Oklahoma on the schedule at the end of November.
And I think the schedule actually sets up really well for Alabama, too. You get Western Kentucky, who can throw it all over the yard. You get South Florida, who can throw it all over the yard. Then you get Wisconsin, and people still think they throw it all, they run it all the time. No, they throw it all over the yard now, and it's at Madison. So you get some really good tests before you have to really past the big test in September. You get a week off to kind of regroup, reassess, and then Georgia comes to you. That's significant. After the Georgia game, you know that's going to be a physical battle. You go to Vanderbilt, should be a very gettable game for the Crimson Tide. South Carolina comes to you. The Tennessee game, the third Saturday in October, always tricky, but they will have already seen an offense that's very similar to Tennessee 3 different times at that point when they tee it up there on October 19th. Missouri, great team this year, probably a top 10 team in the preseason. They come here, then you get the bye week, which will be much needed at that point before finishing up with a couple of really tough tests on the road at LSU and Oklahoma. But I think you look at Alabama, man, I mean, they're well positioned this year, assuming some growth on the defensive side based on what we've seen today, to be right there back at the top of the SEC rankings.
Richard Young gets the carry here and maybe a yard. First time since 1991, no divisions in the SEC, and every SEC game on the ESPN family of networks. And oh, by the way, an expanded college football playoff. Here is what it would have looked like last year if there would have been 12 teams. Michigan, Alabama, Texas, Washington all would have gotten a first-round bye under the current format.
And obviously Florida State being the first team left out last year, they would naturally be in, but would have to play that additional game. And remember, those first-round games are played at home. So talking to some of the administration here in Tuscaloosa earlier in the day, they say, hey, you might look at the grass right now and it doesn't exactly look like Augusta National. Right now it does not, that's for sure. But they are preparing with new sod and everything and a new system to better handle the environment in December in the event in which they have to host a home playoff game. So typical Alabama, 3 steps ahead when it comes to planning.
Well, think about some of the schools that passes dropped. Like Milroe threw it on target, but juggled and dropped by Jaron Hamilton. You'll think if you're a school in the north, yeah, you're used to playing games outdoors in late November, but now you're going into late December playing a home game. Another stop and more points for the defense finally coming around.
Back here at Alabama, we're 7 points away is the mantra that team leader Tyler Booker has been preaching ever since their semifinal loss to Michigan. During the coaching change, he stood in front of his teammates and said, we're 7 points away from a national championship game. You can't leave when we are so close. It's something he reminds his teammates in the weight room, during tough winter workouts, when they're tired after a long day. He'll probably say it at some point today because the difference between a disappointment and a title berth is just 7 points, and he's constantly motivating them, reminding them so they can take that next step this season, guys.
And Molly, it's just amazing, I mean, how big it is to have guys that have that many bona fides with what he's already accomplished on the field, for him to be a holdover from the previous staff to help usher in that new era, but to maintain the sense of player-led accountability is enormous.
And that's something that Alabama's always been good at, as Kendrick Law breaks free, pushed toward the sideline inside the 20, but even though obviously Nick Saban has been the face of the program and clearly been the voice, there has always been good player leadership and accountability here at Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, you come here for one reason, to become your best. And then whether that leads to championships, an NFL draft pick, you become the best version of you. That's why you come here, so the guys that come here understand that they're stepping into a locker room where your best is expected every day.
Back taking off here. They'll blow it dead around the 15. When you have turnover, and we talked with Kalen DeBoer about this, we asked him how was the buy-in? How quickly was it? He said immediate. Guys bought in right away. Obviously, you're going to have transfers, and there still might be more transfers. You've got the portal opening again here soon, and there may be some players that are coming in as well. But he said the buy-in was pretty immediate, which again is not surprising when you have veteran players that are returning, but also a head coach that is so player friendly.
I also think too, I mean, the endorsement from Nick Saban was enormous, and him absolutely 100% supporting Kalen DeBoer has been big in easing this transition.
Ty Lockwood on the catch and wrestled down about the 11-yard line. So the second window is going to open here on Monday, where players can start to transfer. Kalen DeBoer was hired on January 13th, right after that first window closed, but obviously guys can leave immediately when a new head coach is hired, and that's why you had players from Alabama leave after that first window closed. Richard Young on the carry, not going to get the first down.
I think if you ask the staff, though, and they knew guys would leave, understandably, especially at defensive back in particular, because that was Nick Saban's expertise. That was his specialty, and it was not surprising to the staff that so many guys decided to go. I think, if anything, they thought maybe there might be more, frankly, and I think they've been really pleased with, like you said, Dave, how many guys have really bought in and want to do it the right way and continue to ascend from where they were a year ago.
Going forward here on 4th down and 1. Mack was trying to call timeout. The ball was snapped, and then the pass by Young picked off. What a great play by Dre Kirkpatrick Jr. They may have blown it dead, though, before the snap. Pretty close. Penalty flag is down, but what a nice catch.
It's just, it's crazy to me. I remember Dre Kirkpatrick Jr. when he was about 2 years old. When Dre arrived, and man, just watching him as a young buck, and now seeing him play for the Tide is pretty remarkable, and a great job too. I mean, got beat inside initially, but the recovery was great. Going up and snagging that ball like his dad would as well. So I know his dad. There he is. There's Dre Kirk.
It's about time somebody makes you feel old. That's been happening to me for the last 15 years.
I know.
Welcome to the club.
I know Dre Kirk is so proud. And Dre, a great teammate, a great player here for the Tide. There from about 2008 all the way through 2011, where he ultimately became the first-round pick, and a great player for a long time for the Bengals.
Snap again, a little off the mark. Here's Bubba Hampton. Out of bounds, short of the goal line. They'll mark him out at the 1. Jeremiah Alexander was there defensively for Alabama. Good work here from Mack. Redshirt freshman quarterback. J.R. Gardner. Even in a spring game against your own team, that hurts. That was James Smith who ate him up for a loss of a couple.
Couple good moments on the defensive line as the offense has gotten closer and closer to the goal line. So that's been encouraging, but a little leaky there when they've been out in the field.
So it's 3rd down and goal after the tackle for a loss. Ball on the 4. And a timeout by the offense. We'll step away. 3rd and goal when we return. Tuscaloosa, biggest stage yet here at Alabama for Kalen DeBoer. They try to run the ball here on 3rd and goal. Daniel Hill going nowhere, stacked up at the line of scrimmage. The defense played much better lately after a rough go early on. Curtis Perry was in there first for the defense, so it's 4th down. They get a stop.
Another goal line stand there for the defense, though. That was big. While it resulted in 3 points for the offense, they had it at the 1-yard line there with a couple downs to go, and pushing them backwards those last couple downs was significant.
So that's how it works defensively in terms of points, if you're wondering how Team Maroon got to 15.
Maroon? This is not A&M.
Whatever.
Clean it up.
Close
it's
enough.
Crimson Tide.
It's close enough.
It's not close enough. It's Crimson. It's right in the end zone if you forget. All right over there.
All right, so there's 3 points for the offense. So 34-15 over the Crimson. You're never going to let me live that down,
You might not. You might hear about that one.
Yeah, I might hear about that.
Yeah, you might hear about that one. Just in case you forget, it's right over there in the end zone. Right there. You see it.
It's close enough.
It's not close enough. It's very specific.
And if anybody is here except you, calling this game today?
There's reminders
Is it
everywhere,
making a
Dave. It's
big
right
deal
there.
about it?
Yes, no, it's not maroon.
All right, here's the bailout for the play-by-play guy. Our next SEC story premieres Monday night. Bama SB chronicles the 2012 Crimson Tide softball team that stormed through the season and knocked off perennial powerhouse Oklahoma to capture the SEC's first ever Women's College World Series championship. 9 Eastern, 8 Central over on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. Ty Simpson, long throw. Kobe Prentice, you were mentioning earlier how different he looks to you so far in this game.
Man, he just looks so decisive. I mean, last year there were moments, whether you're just going to practice or watching him in the games or seeing him in the scrimmage or two, there was just a hesitancy that was leading to him becoming a little late and just almost kind of too cautious, scared to make a mistake. Now, man, he's cutting loose, getting through his progressions quickly. He's accurate. Really looks like he's grown up a lot this offseason.
Not much there for Miller. He got pushed back at the line of scrimmage. Deontay Lawson there first on defense. Alabama's had a pretty good run of situations where they had an excellent backup quarterback. You had Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa flip-flopping. At one point, Jalen Hurts moved to running back, and you had Mac Jones as the backup and then eventually the starter, winning a championship. Is Ty Simpson ready to be that guy should something happen to Jalen Milroe in terms of injury? Simpson flushed out of the pocket and has a completion out to the 47. That was a strong throw, moving to his left and hitting Caleb Odom. There's a player that we thought we'd be mentioning a lot. The coaching staff talked about him a lot yesterday in our meeting. 6'5", 225-pound true freshman.
Odom's going to be really important too. And you think about where the game is going, guys that are difficult to defend have become more and more important. You think about a guy in the NFL like Christian McCaffrey that can play slot receiver all day long, but he plays running back too. So you can line up an empty, can't cover him with a linebacker, can't cover him with a safety. You better put a nickel guy out there, but if you put a nickel guy out there, they'll run it down your throat. Brock Bowers at Georgia, is he a receiver? Is he a tight end? Is he a fullback? They'll hand it off to him too. Now what Georgia has now with Dylan Bell and how he can play running back or wide receiver. Having those guys that are tweeners that can play multiple spots is significant. And Jeremy Bernard might be that guy, that Dylan Bell type guy that can play running back and wide out, but Caleb Odom might be that guy that can play tight end and wide receiver.
Milroe back out there, pass a little low and a little behind. And it's incomplete, intended for Richard Young. It definitely feels like, and we're not completely there yet, I don't think we ever will because football's not basketball, but it does feel like there is more positionlessness to what we're seeing offensively and some of the best coaches in terms of how they're using guys offensively in multiple ways because of matchup problems.
It just puts a lot of strain on the opposing defensive coordinator. All right, what do I cover this guy with? I can't cover him with the safety. I can't cover him with a linebacker. I better cover him with the cover guy. And if that cover guy's in there, he's probably not very good against the run. So I think we're moving more in that direction, and to find multiple guys on your offense that can be that guy is really valuable. And that's why I think Jeremy Bernard's transfer to Bama is huge. I mean, he played Wildcat quarterback in high school and can actually throw it too. So having those guys that can do a lot of different things, they're just great football players, give your offense a lot of versatility.
Milroe has missed his last 4 passes. See what he does here on 3rd down and 11.
Good opportunity to watch the pass rush too against the tackles.
Pocket breaking down, and Milroe on the run, and they'll blow it dead. Let's go ahead and check in with Molly.
Well, Dave, quarterback Jalen Milroe wasn't Alabama's full-time starter until last season, but he's been on people's radar since 2021, his freshman year. Here's our own ESPN analyst Kirk Herbstreit during the Tide's spring game 3 years ago.
It's going to be an interesting battle in the fall between Paul Tyson and the true freshman, Jalen Milroe, who's not playing today, but he's here on campus, had an incredible spring. We won't get a chance to look at him, but remember that name when this team gets ready in August to get ready for camp.
So Herbie prophesizing Milroe's success, and Milroe told me his goal this season is simple: be the best quarterback in the country. He's been working on that since 2021, his freshman season, when he wasn't even playing. He was still the first guy in the practice facility every morning. He arrives at 4 a.m. to do footwork drills. He told us, you know, he's known for his athleticism and mobility, but he is still underrated as a passer. This season, he's determined to show off his skills in this passing attack, guys.
Well, when you think of comps, and usually when you ask somebody for a comp, might have been a face mask there, but no flag. No one's going to just throw out a backup. Like, when you have comps, people are going to throw in guys that are great players.
Right.
A lot of people have thrown Lamar Jackson out there as a good comp for Jalen Milroe's game. You see that?
I think especially from a college standpoint, and if you look at the development that Lamar Jackson made as a passer early in his career, just he couldn't tackle the guy. The guy was just he was unbelievable. I remember a bowl game, I believe it was against A&M. It was like, who is this guy? This guy's unbelievable. And then we actually called one of his games against North Carolina, and the first play of the game, he hits like a 60-yard post on the money. It was like, oh my goodness. So I think that's who I would try to model my game after if I'm Jalen. Just continuing to grow, continuing to get more consistent throwing the football. I think he's taken huge strides in that area in the last 12 months.
Here's Austin Mack out there, and he dumps it off to Adam Thorslin for a gain of about 4. And in talking with the coaching staff yesterday, they said, look, we just want Jalen to cut it loose, to play free, to not think about anything. They obviously watch the tape and talk with him about what they saw on tape from last year, but they want a clean slate with him.
Yeah, and that's, I think, totally fair. But the same goals exist with this staff as the previous staff, too. Like, hey, you're probably the best athlete on the field. Like, just go, just take off. And don't worry about trying to create the big plays. Hey, 2nd and 4 is great down and distance for us as a play caller. So I think that was something that he struggled with at times early in his career. He always wanted to make the big play. It was all about making the big play and would pass up the layups in an effort to throw down a tomahawk slam, which is great. But I think he's really taken massive strides, and it really started against LSU last year. Right there, pocket collapses, take off, no problem. Pocket's great here, drive the ball downfield, perfect throw, really, really nice to Jeremy Bernard. I love this throw. Moving to his left, eyes back to the right, gets it right up and over the top of the defender and drops it in the bucket. That's excellent touch on the intermediate, and that's an area where he can grow as well. So been really pleased with his progress in this new offense.
Going to be a sack there. Austin Mack just had to get rid of it. There are 3 members of the defense back there. And look, you being elusive and being a runner, it's important in college football especially, but you still got to be able to win from the pocket. And Jalen Milroe definitely progressed at that over the course of last season.
Well, he's proven that he can do that. Like, he doesn't have to prove to anybody that he can throw the football very effectively. You look at the efficiency numbers down the stretch, he was very efficient throwing the football last 5 or 6 games of the year. But the thing that I think opened up some of the passing game was his willingness, starting with the LSU game, to take off. Hey, guess what? You give me a little room, I'm out of here. And you can't stop, you can't tackle the guy in the open field. So that's what makes him different. That's what Kalen DeBoer kept saying. Hey, a lot of guys can throw. Everybody at this level can throw. That's understood. Not everybody can run like you. There's actually probably nobody that can run like you. So don't abandon that part of your game. Continue to hone in on making yourself a complete player, but don't ignore what makes you incredibly special, and that's anytime you have the ball in your hands in the open field.
Moments ago, we just showed a promo as Michael Areno III is the ball carrier down to the 28 for the likely first-round draft picks at quarterback coming up here in a couple weeks. One of the players we showed was Michael Penix, who played for Kalen DeBoer, not just at Washington, but at Indiana. And while injuries were a big reason why Penix had some lean years, this coaching staff did a tremendous job with Penix. Do you feel like it's a good match in terms of Kalen DeBoer and what he wants out of a quarterback and the skill set for Milroe?
Absolutely, and what people probably don't remember is that early in his career, Penix was an elite runner, and they emphasized quarterback run and did a lot of things with Michael Penix in the run game, but a couple of knee injuries, a couple of other injuries that led to season-ending injuries, but he'd make him more of a pocket passer and kind of change his game accordingly. And man, he took off. But yeah, that was a big part of Michael Penix's game early in his career, and then by the end, he's likely a first-round pick, in my opinion, based on how he threw it from the pocket.
There was a miss by Connor Talty on a 46-yard field goal, and again, we were trying to replace Will Reichert, who's the all-time leading scorer in the history of college football. And they're not sure, in talking with Kalen yesterday, who the guy is. Connor Talty does have a little experience, 6 kickoffs and an extra point last year. Little meaning, you know, compared to the rest of them, actually a lot, because none of the other guys have kicked, but that will not help his cause. Just off there trying to hook that in. So points for the defense.
Certainly felt like I remember Nick Saban's first 8A game, and there were people hanging from the rafters. I mean, it was insane. The entire stadium completely full, 92,000 at the time, completely filled. It was nuts. But that was before television. I mean, not before television, but before spring games were on television, so you kind of had to come to watch. But now, the fact that there were 60,000 here, you can still watch it in the comfort of your own home is pretty remarkable, man. The support for the Tide is second to none.
Still trying to figure out if that was a shot at me, my age over the TV comment, but
I promise you.
72,000 is the number we're being told for today. So excellent turnout. Think about that. It's a glorified scrimmage that 72,000 people are showing up for, and millions will watch over the next several months, because this obviously re-airs on a lot of different platforms in the ESPN network. So a lot of opportunities for people to kind of take in, whether you're a Crimson Tide fan or not, about what could lie ahead in the fall for Alabama. First team is still out there. Jam Miller getting the carry, no room there. So pushed out of bounds. One of the players you talked about earlier, Keanu Coate, made the hit, so to speak, and not a lot of contact at this point. There were some big hits earlier, though, and that was one thing Kalen DeBoer said when we spoke with him yesterday. It's been more and more physical the more spring practice has gone on.
Everybody's friendly when spring practice starts. By the end of it, you want to tear each other's heads off. So it's understandable that's kind of progressed that way.
Milroe from the pocket, a strike. Short of the line to gain. But a good pickup that time. Josh Cuevas, who's a Washington transfer. Got a number of guys that we've mentioned today that transferred from UW here to Tuscaloosa. Going to be 4th down, though. And they will take the offense off the field as the defense gets another stop. You can see Jalen Milroe not happy, spring game or not, scrimmage or not. He's upset right now.
Tell me about an accomplishment you're proud of. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Another championship.
The city is ready. The teams are ready. The NFL Draft.
We showed you this going to break, but what does this tell you about Jalen Milroe when you see this level of frustration in a spring game?
I mean, he's a competitor, man. I remember the spring games. There was a lot on the line in victory or defeat. The winning team got steaks, and the losing team got beans and little Vienna sausages. It was the worst meal of the year, and you had to eat it. You weren't allowed to eat, and they ate steaks right in front of you. So a lot on the line back in the day. But yeah, man, you want to win. I understand the frustration.
Well, the defense has been much better this half. 7 3-and-outs forced by the defense after just 1 in the first half. Simpson leaving the pocket, and receiver wide open downfield, Bernard. So they lose Bernard there, and it's a gain of about 40 down to the 31.
Good job there by Simpson, keeping his eyes downfield, not taking off, and locating Bernard, who, as a result of the busted coverage, is wide open.
Again, Simpson played 6 games last year, threw just 20 passes, did have a couple rushing touchdowns, played in 4 games 2 years ago. 5-star recruit a couple years back out of Martin, Tennessee. Good pressure this time by Hill all over Ty Simpson. One of the stars so far has been Jam Miller.
Didn't get used as much last year as a lot of people thought going into the season, but making his presence felt here in the spring, in the first spring game under Kalen DeBoer. A couple of really nice runs and a great job too up front by the offensive line. This one in particular, Elijah Christian, left tackle. Nice long arm, beats Keon Sabb to the corner and runs over Brown en route to another touchdown.
Got a timeout here by the defense. About 15 minutes left here in the A-Day festivities, and then that'll be it until the fall. Our next SEC story premieres on Monday night. Bama SB chronicles the 2012 Alabama softball team ended up making it all the way to the Women's College World Series Championship, the first ever for the SEC. You can see it 9 Eastern, 8 Central over on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. Monday, April 15th, 9 Eastern time. Bama's had success in sports outside of football for a long time. And how about the basketball program? As that pass is too long, looked like maybe the receiver Bubba Hampton slipped or just got tied up. Nate Oates here today, the basketball coach, just led the Crimson Tide men's team to Glendale and the Final Four.
Amazing run, and took my 5-year-old out there. We flew out there, and man, we had the greatest day ever. And Nate Oates, certainly one of the greatest coaches Alabama's ever had in basketball, and he's going to be here for the long haul, man. Some overtures, people pursued him, but he recommitted here, and I'm so excited. I know all the other Alabama fans feel the same way, to see the commitment to basketball here as well, and to see the success the program's having as a result. But baseball hosting #1 Arkansas today, a top 25 team. Softball in the top 12. I mean, Greg Byrne and the athletic department across the board just doing an amazing job.
It's interesting too, the parallels in the career arcs of Nate Oates on the basketball side and Kalen DeBoer on the football side. You think a decade ago Nate Oates was a high school coach, and then as an assistant coach, and Nate has talked about this a lot in Buffalo, he's working for Bobby Hurley, gets a shot as an assistant, eventually the head coach there, then gets the Alabama job. Kalen DeBoer at a small school, several small schools, as either a head coach or as an assistant coach, gets an opportunity to be a head coach at Fresno State, 2 great years. Then gets a Pac-12 job, 2 terrific years at Washington, takes them all the way to the national title game. They went 14-1 last year, and then gets the Alabama job and a very successful first A-Day for DeBoer here in Tuscaloosa. Final score, White beats the Crimson 34-28. Here's Coach with Molly.
Coach, the Kalen DeBoer era at Alabama is underway. Your first scrimmage in front of fans. What do you think a highlight of today was, a positive that you saw on the field?
Yeah, I think it's the whole day. It's everyone coming together. It's these guys, going through the last 3 months and everything, with the resiliency that they've been through, with the transition. I can't say enough about how they've embraced everything. Proud of them. Today, some highs, some lows, some things we can get better at. I know they're starving to go out there and be great, and they're going to continue to put in the work.
Over 72,000 fans here at one point for a glorified scrimmage. What does that tell you about how hungry this Alabama fan base is?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. It's great to be here. Can't thank them enough, for coming out and supporting our guys. I'm looking forward to this when it's really, all packed and, loud, and all the energy and the excitement is on another level when we start the season.
Your quarterback, Jalen Milroe, was frustrated at the end there. What can a team accomplish with a competitor like him, a guy who's getting frustrated during a spring game? Yeah, I mean, he's putting the ball where it needed to be. We just got to make the plays, and that's the difference between the first part of the scrimmage and the second part is making the catches, and that is hard when you're putting the ball where it needs to be and the ball's on the ground. So, it's just a matter of going back to work, and that's what he does. And maybe a little frustration for a second, but I know he comes back and we'll talk about, learn from it, and that's not just him, it's the whole group. All right, thank you, Coach. Congrats on your first spring game with Alabama. Awesome, thank you. All right, we're going to bring in Jalen Milroe. Hey, Jalen. Good job. Hi, congratulations, you won. We saw some frustration out of you at the end there. What frustrated you? How much is that attention to detail going to benefit this team this season?
all it is passion. It's passion. Wanting to be the best version of ourselves every single time we touch the field. And the biggest thing, we want to be satisfied. We always have room to grow. We always have things to improve on, stuff like that. But the biggest thing we want to do is stack drives. Stack drives, keep getting better, come to the sideline, regroup. That's all the main focus is. Keep, each drive, be attention to detail, stuff like that.
You told me your goal this season was to be the best quarterback in the country. Where do you think that you will make the biggest strides this season? What can Alabama fans expect out of you?
I think the biggest thing to do right now is take care of right now. Be the better version of myself each and every day I enter the building. Play for my teammates, play for the state of Alabama, play for my family. There's a lot of things I'm playing for, but the biggest thing to get to any long-term goal is take care of right now. So I have short-term goals right now that I need to accomplish to get to my long-term goals.
How good was your running back, Jam Miller, today?
That's a dog. He's a dog, man. No, I'm excited for the future for Jam. He comes each and every day ready to compete. Working hard, but I like the whole running back room as a whole. They encourage Jam to play hard, they encourage each other, and they have shared success. But I'm super excited for Jam because he's a key resource for our team.
So steaks for yourself in the offense, beans and hot dogs for the defense. How much do these bragging rights really matter this offseason?
Well, it's exciting to be here in front of our great fans. But like the bragging rights we talked about, the biggest thing we have to do is to have fun. Have fun, enjoy the process. And along the process, you're going to have success. You're going to have success along the journey. So the biggest thing we have to do is take care of right now and trust the process.
All right, enjoy that steak tonight.
Thank you. Roll Tide!
Guys.
All right, Craig, give me your thoughts on what you saw from Jalen Milroe in this game today.
It's really hard to play quarterback by yourself, but I thought there was a lot of really positive things. I know he was frustrated at the end with how things finished up, but he was decisive. This was a great throw over the middle. Really put it on the money as Jeremy Bernard went up high and made a great contested catch. I love this throw as well, dropping it in the bucket. The intermediate throws are an area, I think, where he probably wants to improve. He's been tremendous on the deep ball throughout his career. But the intermediate and the underneath stuff is an area that can really take his game to the next level. And I thought he did a lot of good things today. I know that maybe didn't get as many reps as he would like, or maybe didn't have quite the efficiency that he would like. But at the same time, man, you're playing with your buddies and you're not able to really scheme up the defense. You're going to be just fine, no doubt about it.